The Earth at night. Low-income regions stay in darkness. Afghanistan is one of the poorest countries in the world. At most, 30% of Afghans have access to electricity, and 70% of this is imported. There's a rapidly growing workforce, most of which doesn't have enough work. Progress has come through one of the highest levels of development assistance in the world, but with aid set to decline, Afghanistan will need a new source of growth. The country has huge untapped mineral resources worth several $100 billion at least. For example, copper in Aynak, iron ore in Hajigak, oil and gas deposits in Amu Darya. With strategic investment and reform, these deposits have the potential to drive growth and create jobs in the long term. But this won't happen automatically. Consider Aynak. Mining might start in a few years' time, but without supporting action and investment, the local economy won't share in the wealth. There'd be few spillover effects and only a small zone of development. If communities and the broader economy fail, the mining itself is likely to fail, if it even begins. To avoid this outcome, a careful sequencing of investment and reform is needed, and it should start now. The Afghanistan Resource Corridor strategy is a development concept embodied in the National and Regional Resource Corridor Programme, a national priority programme. But what is a resource corridor? It's a sequence of investment and action along a specific geographic area to leverage a large extractive industry investment in infrastructure, goods and services into viable economic development and diversification. Aynak could anchor one of the first segments of Afghanistan's resource corridor. The mine's construction and operation will require nearly $3 billion in goods and services. With public intervention and joint action, the private sector around the mine and in Kabul could supply a significant amount of this. Along with the jobs in the mine itself, that would create many more in the supply chain. A well-considered sequence of public and private action could improve livelihoods along the corridor, increase the ability of the Afghan private sector to supply the goods and services required by the mine, support further resource investments, and create jobs. But how can this vision become reality? The challenge must be faced nationally and locally through cooperation among the government, the mining investors, the private sector, and the affected communities. Actions must be sequenced, leveraging private sector investments along a series of geographic segments. The first in the north would be anchored around hydrocarbons, including rail links to the CIS, well-functioning roads, and the potential for job creation through providing services to the oil and gas fields. Next, the southeast segment. It would be anchored around large copper deposits, particularly in Aynak, with a potential extension down to Kandahar, along which there are more copper and lithium deposits. The cross-Hindu Kush segment would connect the resources and create options for export destinations. The energy and steel segment combines mining activity with options for power and transport connections. It would be anchored on the most important iron ore and coking coal deposits and the development of a steel mill. Other segments could also be extended over time, eventually connecting the whole country. Planning would be coordinated, reinforcing job creation and improving livelihoods. For this to succeed, soft infrastructure must be strengthened. Land acquisition processes need to be improved rapidly. Community benefit sharing mechanisms need to be set up. Farmers' access to finance and markets must be improved. Sound governance and transparency must underpin the corridors. If this works, by 2025 we'd see a wealthier, integrated Afghanistan with many more jobs. Achieving this vision will be full of challenges. There's considerable risk involved in the timing of mine development, in corruption and governance. Investment and reform are needed now so that the Afghan people can benefit from their country's resources and unlock their potential.